I would like to start with my quick introduction about myself. I am Sujai Manuel. I've been in IT for say around 13 years now, and in this tenure I got opportunities to work in various companies like Fidelity Investments, Arthur G. Gallagher, Royal Bank of Scotland. I worked for Mindtree and Taven Technologies also, and been into the end-to-end delivery from the testing perspectives, and I am the single point of contact, and I'm the single responsible person for all the phases, like starting from the plan until the closure for all deliverables, process collaboration activities, and from the management perspective, being into end-to-end delivery, starting from the planning activity till the closure activity. So especially from the testing side of it, especially that too in the automation side of it, I've been executing many projects in various tools like CoderDY, QTP, Selenium, and Edureka also, and been conducting the trainings all over the globe, in especially in the testing set of it, and I am the ISTQB certified tester and certification by CSI too. CSI means Computer Society of India. All right, so this is my introduction about myself, and this webinar, I would like to give you an understanding about why we need automation, what is actually the automation is, and the tools available in the market. I will just give a glance about it, and why we have to go for Selenium, why Selenium is different from all the other tools, and what is Selenium and what are its flavors, and finally we will also see about a quick demo of Selenium in one of the flavor like WebDriver. Okay, so okay, all right. So to start with it, I would like to introduce about what is this manual testing, and from the manual testing why we are switching over to automation, right? So maybe I don't know from which background you are coming from, but if you are the people who are already working in manual testing, manual testing field, or you are in a different field also, you would have heard about what is manual testing, right? So manual testing, what is manual testing? To give the quick definition about manual testing: testing anything manually, step by step, right? With a manual intervention when we are testing any application, that is called as manual testing, right? So how this manual testing is carried out is, we have to manually enter into the details, or communicate with the web application, each step by step, right? So how this is actually carried out or executed is, we have to, maybe in the company perspective, if you talk about in a whole project wise, we have to have a plan for the entire project, and based on the plan, we will have to write all our documentation, save all our test cases, our test data and everything. And once all the documentation is ready, we'll have to execute the test cases and verify those test cases. Once we verify that, we can prepare the report. This is how we do the repeated activities or routine activities in the manual testing side of it, right? So if you are the people who are from the manual testing, this will be a very familiar activity for you. Or maybe if you are quite new for the testing field, this is a the actual job that we are doing in the manual testing. Okay, say for example, if you are testing google.com, then first thing you will have to have a plan how you are going to execute the complete testing. Then based upon the plan, we'll have to do the other activities, say the documentation activity, and then review activities, then the testing activity. Execution is going on. Once execution is completed, you will be able to give up the give your reports to the other stakeholders, right? So this is how the manual testing is actually carried out, right? So in the actual scenario or in the workplace, if you see, for example, if you are working for a banking application to submit a loan, okay? So in that way, how do you, I mean, in that particular application, how do you rate, or what would be your regular activity in or a daily day-to-day life cycle is, you will have to upload or you will have to search for thousands of transactions every day, right? Say if you think about this manually, loading thousands of transactions, what I mean to say is, say for example, I would like to apply or I would like to submit an application for a particular employee or for a particular customer, right? So in a banking application, so first thing what you do is you will have to search for a customer if he is an existing customer, right? So and then once the customer is found, then you'll have to give, fill in all the details and then validate all these details throughout the filling up the procedure, and finally you'll have to submit to the next system, right? So this is how you will have to do in any kind of web application. So what I mean to say is, in a manual testing, when you are doing, you will have to undergo this activity thousands and thousands of times. Maybe you'll have to download thousands of transactions, or you'll have to upload thousands of transactions, or you will have to submit some of the transactions, or validate thousands of transactions, and finally you will have to verify it and get the report of whether it is passed or failed. This activity, this sequential activity you will have to do every day, right? Maybe for every build, the same activity has to be followed again and again, right? So just a sec, I think I've got some of the questions before I move ahead. Okay, all right. Okay, sorry guys, people are joining in again. Maybe they'll have to, just catch it up. Okay, all right. So in manual testing, what I wanted to say is the activities that what you are doing is repeated, right? Maybe for every week or every day or every build, okay, or every cycle, you will have to do the same thing again and again. So because of that, what actually what happens is, these are some of the disadvantages, because of this repetition activity, right? So as for manual testing, some of the disadvantages everybody is talking about, or if I ask any of the manual tester, he is saying, or he or she is complaining about the same thing again. So anybody, if he is the manual tester for years together, then he is saying that every day I'm doing the same thing, I'm fed up with my job, or I'm losing the interest in the job. So this is what it's happening every day. And moreover, from the company perspective or from the business perspective also, business or our projects are moving from manual testing to automation testing. Many of the projects have achieved 100% of automation also. So this is how the trend is actually moving ahead. So why this change, or why this shift, is because of these disadvantages which is in the manual testing. Okay, so what are those disadvantages is, for any application, when you are testing, when you do the actual testing in the manual way, it's all time consuming, right? So time is equal to money, right? So for example, if you want to test 1,000 test cases, and because of a small change in some of the flow, then maybe the project owner is asking to execute all these 1,000 test cases again, right? So you will have to spend the same amount of time, so which means the cost is also incurred, right? So time is equal to money also. So that way you need more time, you need more cost, and you need more resources also, right? So everything is done by manually, so you need to have that many number of manual testing resources, and scope of manual test is very limited. Say for example, if you want to test some of the technical part of it, or say google.com or any kind of bank application also, if you want to test it in the multiple OS or multiple browsers, this kind of activities or cross browser testing, or performance, you want to test it out. So these kind of technical aspects of it, you will not be able to achieve with the manual testing. So the scope is very limited, and as I said, it is a very tedious task because of the repetition, right? And the manual testing, when it will be suitable is, if at all, if you want to do a kind of functional testing wherein you will have to do the testing once or twice, then fine, okay, you can go ahead. But then if you want to do the same thing again and again as part of regression testing, then probably you will have to switch over to automation testing, right? And testing on different machines, with the different OS platforms, combinations of combinations of these kind of different OS, different browsers, different platforms, that is not possible with respect to manual testing, right? So these are some of the disadvantages when we consider about the manual testing. Okay, now would have understood why we are talking about test automation, right? So the definition of the test automation is whatever that we are testing manually, we are replacing with a software, okay, with a software or a tool. That is called as test automation. Okay, so just to repeat, what is test automation? Is automation with the use of special software, okay, to control the execution or to execute the test cases and to compare the actual output and the expected output. This process is called as test automation. Okay, and why automation or why automate testing itself is because of these advantages, right? Optimization of speed. You want to do it very fast. You want to execute it very fast. You want to execute very efficiently with the quality output and the decrease of cost. Okay, I'm going to explain you. And advance a tester's motivations and efficiency, isn't it, right? So if a manual tester is doing, or if a tester is doing the same testing manually again and again for months together or weeks together, his spirit also is going down. So just to motivate himself, and not only that, he or she is learning new things. Okay, when it comes to automation, you'll have to learn. You can get an opportunity to learn new technologies, right? So you'll get your career growth also will be very faster, right? So that motivates the tester, right, or the test engineer, right? And it increases the test coverage also. So how does this coverage is improved is, in case of manual testing, maybe with a lack of time, maybe you'll have to end up with testing only the part of the application, or only the some amount of test cases you will end up in testing. But then in case of automation, since we can do, or we will be able to execute number of test cases within a specular or within a limited time, you can achieve a bigger test coverage or high amount of test coverage also, right? So these are some of the benefits because of that, why we have chosen automation testing. Okay, so just this is going to be a repetition for you, but again we'll just see some of the reasons why we are going for automation testing, right? So the expert says, or the research says, that 70% faster than the manual testing, or the automation testing is 70% faster than manual testing, right? That's quite good result, right? So if we are doing the manual testing, which it takes this much, 70% of time, which is reduced because of the automation testing, right? Say 100 hours if you are taking with manual testing, maybe 30 hours you will be able to accomplish with automation testing. That's how the difference is. And why the test coverage of application features? As I said before, you'll be able to do, or your scope of testing will be increased with the help of automation testing, but at the same time with the manual testing, you'll be able to do the testing only what you have written in the test cases. Okay, so your test cases says step 1 to step 5, and your tester will be executing the same test case, right? So as per the test case development, or as per the test case documents, the execution also will be carried out. Even in the automation, also the same thing. I mean, whatever the script says. But then, with respect to automation, you will be able to test the new content of the application. But here in the manual testing, you will not be able to achieve that much. And reliable in results. right? You'll be able to get the accurate results than the monotonous manual testing. But say in manual testing, maybe the tester is doing the same job again because of our human errors also can happen while testing. So you'll not be able to rely on the results of the manual testing always. Sometimes mistakes can happen during the execution also, right? So that way, this is very reliable and you can ensure the consistency. Whatsoever the number of times that you are executing the scripts, you'll be able to get the same results again. So that way, you can ensure it is going to give the consistent results. It saves time and cost that we've seen, and it improves accuracy. You'll be getting accurate results, right? And human intervention is not required. You can just start the execution and go home. Maybe tomorrow morning, the next day morning when you come, you'll be able to see the results. How many test cases passed, how many test cases failed, right? So that way you don't need any human interventions. It increases efficiency. You will be able to execute things very efficiently, right? And better speed, reusable test scripts, right? So see, this is going to be achieved with a very efficient frameworks, right? So in Selenium, we have got a lot more sophisticated frameworks. Because of that, you will be able to achieve this reusability, right? The concept of framework, one of the advantages or one of the benefit of framework itself is the reusability, right? So with the help of better or optimized framework implementation, you'll be able to achieve this reusability. But at the same time, here in manual testing, if you see, you'll be able to reuse very limited test cases. Maybe that percentage would be very, very lesser, because for every test case, you have to rewrite the test case, the test steps, okay? And you can test frequently and thoroughly. The number of times that you need, you will be able to, right? And more cycle of execution can be achieved. That's what I meant to say before also. You will be able to do the execution for any n number of cycles, and early time to market, in the sense, say, you are in the verge of releasing the software very fast, okay? So in that case, you'll not be able to get or you'll not be able to execute the test cases manually. So in that case, maybe you can go for a quick smoke testing with the help of automation suite, okay? Just get it tested with automation suite and get it confirmed with automation suite, okay? Then maybe with the automation tool, with a properly implemented framework and the tool, you will be able to achieve the execution faster and release it also. So nowadays, if you see, the commercials or the commercial softwares, if you see, they are all releasing it in a very frequent mode, okay? So say any web application, if you see, they are changing the versions very often because of the demand of the customers, right? So we are in the competitive world, and every web application also is there, they are enhancing their features every now and then. So, and the challenge here is when the enhancement is going on from the development activity, and the same thing has to be tested also very thoroughly, right? Sometimes what happens is when the enhancement is going on, or when the project is in the maintenance mode, the enhancement or the development activity will be completed very quickly. But the same thing has to be tested, means it might take longer time, because the existing functionalities has to be worked or has to be confirmed whether they are working properly. So in that case, you have to depend on, or you will have to spend more time in testing rather than in development. So in that case, automation testing will be the very suitable solution for competing towards the market, right? So thus you can understand, because of these benefits, everybody or in the whole IT is towards the automation testing or automated testing, okay? Right. Okay. Now, so when to use test automation? So you have understood what are the benefits of automation. Now, when to use test automation? Some of the occasions that you might be thinking that, these kind of scenarios, this will not be suitable for automation. So what would be the answer for the question when to use test automation is, mostly, preferably, right, regression testing is the first thing that you will have to, look for automation, because regression testing is something, or regression test cases are something which have to be executed again and again for every kind of fix or every enhancement also. So because of the repetition, because of the demand of the repetition of test cases, executions, you need to look for automation for regression testing and also smoke testing, right? So whenever you are getting a new build, you will have to do a smoke testing, right? So what is smoke testing? What is regression testing? I hope you already know, or if you don't know what is regression testing is, whenever when you are testing the application, okay, when you are in the test execution phase, right? So in case if you are getting a new enhancement, or when you are getting a new build and when you are getting a new fix, okay, so in that case you will have to identify the test cases to be executed just to confirm the existing features are working fine, okay. So that kind of testing is called as regression testing. So this is going to be repeated, and so this is a very apt candidate for test automation. And number 2 is smoke testing. What is smoke testing is, whenever you are getting a new build from the developers, okay, so before you proceed with the functional testing, you will have to do one round of smoke testing just to check whether the build is really in a very good health condition to proceed your functional testing, okay. So that is called as smoke testing. So maybe here what kind of test cases will be executed is, mainly the very important, very high level functional test cases will be selected for smoke testing and will be tested and confirmed, okay. And the testers have to confirm back to the development, yes, guys, your build is good to go. We are proceeding with the functional testing. So this is going to be carried out every build, okay, every new build. So this case also, automation would be preferably suitable for smoke testing. And static and repetitive test, okay, static in the sense every time it's going to be very static, very constant. So this kind of cases also will be selected for automation. Repetitive, as I said before, any repetitive test cases can be selected for automation. Task involves very complex calculation, which is very difficult for manual execution. Those cases also can be selected for automation. And data-driven testing. Okay, so what do you mean by data-driven testing in first place, right? Say, for example, coming back to any kind of example website, say, I want to find out, or I want to submit some of the applications, or say I'm going to test a banking application, okay. So this is for a loan origination submission, or LOS system we call it as, right? So if we are testing this LOS application, say, I want to submit, say, around 100 applications in a day, okay. I want to submit 100 applications, okay. So 100 the details of 100 customers, okay. So what happens is, the same test case or the same test script is going to be executed again and again, but then the data will be different. So here the data is what? These 100 details, or 100 set of details, or the details of 100 customers, okay. So what we are doing with respect to data-driven testing is, the same script will be executed for different set of data. That is called as data-driven testing. Okay, so in this case also, repetition is the first point that you have to take care of it. Okay, so the test case is going to be the same, but the data is going to be different. So in this case, what you can do is, with the help of a data-driven framework, or any kind of automation tool, in this kind of data-driven testing is supported. Okay, so data-driven testing is a very famous or very familiar framework in any automation tool, okay, with which you can execute the same script for different set of test data. Okay, so this will be again the apt one. Test cases which are time consuming, okay, so whichever is taking much time, then that also can be suitable for the automation. Okay, so you would have understood, when you can choose automation. Okay, in what are the scenarios you can go for automation, right? You should also understand when not to use test automation. It's not always the case that you can achieve automation, right? There are certain circumstances you will not be able to, or you should not go for automation. So what are those, right? There are some applications, if there are some applications which you know that they are going to be changed, or some of the functionalities are going to be changed in the near future. So those functionalities or those applications will not be selected, or it should not be selected for automation. Okay, why? Because you know definitely it's going to be changed. So it's not worthwhile, you know, to spend time in automation. Okay, to spend time for POC and to spend time for your framework development and your procedure and things like that. Okay, so in that case, you can just go for manual testing. Whatsoever the time that you've got, you just execute the manual test cases and proceed with that. Okay, don't go for automation. And test cases which are executed on ad hoc basis. Okay, some of the applications which require only the ad hoc testing. What do you mean by ad hoc testing is you know when you are not going with a very crystal clear plan, and you know based on the demand you will be just checking here and there some of the functionalities. Okay, this is called as otherwise known as monkey testing or exploratory testing. Also there are a lot more terminologies behind it, but then ad hoc basis is the concept behind this ad hoc testing is based on the necessity, based on the situation, based on the demand from the customer. Your testing plan also will be changed. Okay, your scope also will be changed. Okay, so in that case you don't know very definitely how many test cases are going to be executed, what would be your plan for it. There is no concrete plan here. So in that case also better to go with the manual testing. Okay, so these are a couple of instances where you can know that, or that these are not the suitable candidates for automation. Okay, right. Okay, so now let's see some of the automation testing tools. Okay, so so far we have discussed what is manual testing, what are the disadvantages of manual testing, why we have gone for why we have to go for automation testing. Okay, so what are the benefits in automation testing, what are the scenarios where you can go for automation testing, and what are the scenarios where you cannot go for automation testing. So these are the things that we have discussed so far. Okay, now coming to automation. Okay, there are many automation tools in the market. Okay, these are some of the tools in the market and very familiar also. QTP, now it's called as UFT. Selenium is something that we are going to learn. RFT, Securely Self-Test, Windrunner, LoadRunner, VSTS coded UI. Okay, and WhatIt. These are some of the test tools that you will be able to see in the market. Okay, they are of great demand. Okay, out of which Selenium has got greater importance, and there are many reasons behind that also. Okay, so let's see what is Selenium and why it has got a lot of demand in the market, why this is very hot in the job market also. Okay, so let's see what is Selenium. All right, so Selenium is not a single tool. Okay, this is a bunch of tools. Okay, this has got bunch of tools, and this is an open source tool. It's a freely available, and this Selenium is a best tool for web application testing. Okay, and because this is not going to be supporting for other than web applications, say Windows applications and all, it will not be supporting. Okay, so this is the best tool for web testing. All right, and you can execute this, or you can have automation testing in multiple platforms with multiple browsers and multiple language also, right? Because it supports many languages, because you can write your Selenium scripts in Java, Ruby, Python, Perl and all. Okay, and you can also execute your test cases in a different browsers, right? IE, Chrome, Firefox, this kind of different browsers also it supports, and the different OS level also it supports. Okay, and if you look at the performance of the execution speed of our Selenium also, it is far better than other tools. Okay, because it is operated from the OS level, right? So we will see what is this architecture of the Selenium and how this operates and all in the forthcoming slides. Okay, and these are some of the features of Selenium. Okay, as I said before, it supports almost every OS. Okay, you just name any OS, it's going to support it. Okay, it supports almost all the OS, and it is it's very freely available, right? So anybody nowadays all the companies are thinking about cost-effective mechanism, right? So definitely Selenium will be the suitable solution for them. Because of that, this is the one more reason why every company is behind this Selenium, and cost-effective because of that. It supports multiple programming languages, and it you can achieve it web automation or Selenium automation independent of any web application programming language upon which it is being developed. Okay, your application, it could have been developed with any kind of Java or .NET, whatsoever it might be, but then you can achieve your Selenium automation irrespective of the application programming language with which it is being developed. Okay, and it supports multiple browsers. I said it supports Firefox, what's that, Chrome, IE, Safari, Opera, all these kind of browsers it supports. And there are many options to find an object. Okay, see, when I talk about object finding mechanisms, okay, say when you compare with any other tools, okay, any other automation tools, then there are very limited operations or options to find an object. Okay, so here you can identify an object using 7-8 methods. You can identify an object using ID or name or CSV selector or export or tag name, your linked test or partial linked test, like this. There are some 8 methods you can find an object. Okay, so we will see in detail how to find an object and all. Okay, so first of all, if you want to do any kind of automation, the first and foremost prerequisite would be the identification technique of an object. Okay, say for example, I want to execute or I want to automate google.com. Now if I want to instruct Selenium that to automate google.com, then Selenium has to understand what are the components with in google.com, say the text boxes, the list boxes, the links and everything, right? So Selenium has to first identify, it has to learn, and then only it will be able to execute the test cases or the test scripts. Okay, once the elements are identified, then for Selenium it will be easy to execute the steps also. Okay, so with respect to this object identification, there are many techniques which are available in Selenium, with which object identification has become very easier job. Okay, once upon a time this was a very difficult job to identify some of the objects, okay, with other tools, but then now with Selenium it has become very easier. And you can also do parallel execution. Okay, say you have 500 test cases, so you can do the testing parallelly with more than one machines, or you can execute with more than one browsers also. So that is possible with the features of Selenium. And also, it provides a support with the existing frameworks, existing unit testing frameworks like TestNG and JUnit and all. Okay, so already, if you are a developer, if you would have heard about this TestNG and JUnit, these are the very quite familiar unit testing framework, and you can leverage the importance or the benefits of these frameworks with Selenium, so that your framework development has become very easy. Okay, so that are some of the features in a high level. Right. Okay. Next is about the flavors of Selenium. So let me see if there is any questions in the question window. So there are some questions, okay. So maybe I would like to address these questions in the last few minutes, okay, because there are many more questions, okay. So if I try to answer all these questions, maybe I'll not be able to complete the PPT, okay. So please bear with me, guys. Maybe I will be able to answer all your questions, hopefully, maybe till the in the last few minutes, okay. So please bear with me, okay. All right. Okay, so coming back to this slide, but still you please go ahead with your questions, okay. So please type in your questions in the chat window. I'll just see in maybe in another few minutes, okay. See, looking at this PPT, what you understand is, you see these are some of the flavors in Selenium, okay. So it has got 4 flavors, okay. Selenium IDE, RC, WebDriver, and Grid, okay. So if you look at the history in the Selenium development earlier, there were 2 versions actually. There Selenium 1 and Selenium 2. Now the Selenium 2 is otherwise known as Selenium WebDriver, okay. So how this is merged is, this Selenium RC has got some of the advantages, but then they just got some of the disadvantages also. So just to overcome these disadvantages, they've developed WebDriver, okay. And then finally this Selenium, some of the features of RC plus WebDriver, both it's been merged, and Selenium 2 has come, that is known as Selenium WebDriver now, okay. So on the whole, if you see, these are the 4 flavors of Selenium: Selenium IDE, RC, WebDriver, and Grid, okay. So among these, Selenium IDE is, this is not much used because this supports only record and playback. And if you look at the frameworks, record and playback is not much used, or it has got a lot of disadvantages, because if you develop any framework in record and playback alone, then maybe maintenance will be very difficult. Creation or development would be easier, but then maintenance would be very difficult. And RC is about, it is again one more flavor. This has got a lot of advantages also, but then disadvantage side, if you see, you cannot really talk to the browser directly. You need intermediate server, okay. So you need a server just to interpret your commands, so that server will be acting as a proxy server, right. So because of that, the performance of the execution also has been reduced, and Selenium RC is already deprecated, but then now some of the companies are still using Selenium RC also. So the support is already given, but then there is no development is going on from the Selenium RC side, okay. The next version is Selenium WebDriver, which is what is going on in the current trend, okay. So that's what we are going to see again in the forthcoming slides also, right. And final one is Selenium Grid, which is especially for the distributed execution. If you want to execute the scripts in a multiple nodes or multiple machines, then you can do the same with the with multiple machine or hub and node setup, okay. So that is possible with the Selenium Grid, okay. So these are the 4 flavors of Selenium, okay. And going to the next slide. So this is what we have seen. Selenium 1.0 plus WebDriver is known as Selenium 2.0, okay. Because of the disadvantages of the Selenium 1.0, 1.0, they've got merged this 1.0 plus WebDriver capabilities also. Okay, so why this WebDriver itself, or what are some of the disadvantages? I already have told, you need an intermediate server to interpret your commands to the browser. So because of that, the performance also has been impacted, and moreover there is one more limitation with RC is called a single host origin policy. So what do you mean by single host origin policy is when you are executing with RC, you will be able to do with only with the same domain. Say for example, if you want to automate google.com, you will be able to continue with your google.com alone. You cannot really switch to facebook.com. Okay, in between you cannot navigate to other applications or other domains. Okay, so that limitation is there in Selenium RC, but then in WebDriver that is overcome. Okay, so Selenium WebDriver, it's a more simpler, and it's more this API has got very simpler implementations than RC. Okay, so all these drawbacks of RC has been solved over here in WebDriver, and that has become a latest version of Selenium, and it has got a very compact object-oriented APIs. Okay, see, if you look at the APIs of RC, some of the APIs are very complex and some of them are redundant also. So because of that, there are a lot more confusions also in RC, but then in WebDriver it is not that so. Okay, and in WebDriver you don't need any server in between. Okay, you can talk to the browser directly. Okay, so there are direct calls between your script and the browser. Okay, so if you look at the architecture in the next slide, you will understand. Okay, so these are some of the limitations, the upload or download, the file upload or file download, pop-up handling, dialog handling. So these are all become very difficult in the RC, but then these have become very easier with the WebDriver APIs. Okay, so that we will see in the class how this has been handled. Okay, there are many classes, many methods available, how to handle multiple windows, how to switch windows, how to switch alerts, how to switch pop-ups, and how to handle those things, and everything. It is easily implemented with the driver methods. Okay. All right, and Selenium WebDriver, these are the features. Okay, you can do cross-browser testing, like you can do the testing in multiple browsers like Firefox, Chrome, IE, Safari, and all. You can support. It supports multiple languages. You can write your scripts in Java or C#, okay, PHP, Ruby, Perl, or Python. Okay, whatever the language that you can choose the binder. Okay, or you can choose the driver accordingly, and it supports all the operating system like Windows, Mac, Linux, everything. Okay, and you can develop the framework also very easily. You can again, the keyword driven development, or data-driven development, or hybrid development, hybrid framework. Okay, so these different kind of framework development also has become very easier with the Selenium WebDriver. Okay, and you can do parallel testing, right? Multiple browser at the same time you can do in Selenium WebDriver, right? So say you have 100 test cases and you want to do these 100 test cases parallelly with the Chrome as well as Firefox. You can achieve this Selenium WebDriver. Their capabilities available. Okay, and these are some of the advantages of and disadvantages of Selenium. Okay, Selenium WebDriver. Advantages side, let's look at this first. It doesn't require Selenium server. So the first thing is you don't need a server in between, and you can directly communicate with the browser, right? And it's a very purely object-oriented interface, and it supports dynamic finders. As I said before, you can identify the elements, identify the objects with various techniques. Okay, and it supports implementation of listeners. Okay, so what do you mean by listeners is when we talk about listeners, you can make note of some of the classes and interfaces, and you can have a WebDriver event listener which has got very predefined methods to track the events, or what you are doing once the application is launched, what are the events which are happening in between. So these are all possible with the implementation of listeners. Okay, so these are some of the advantages of Selenium WebDriver. And looking at the disadvantages, there are some of the disadvantages. I wouldn't say disadvantages. These are some of the difficulties. Okay, I'd say yeah, maybe the first thing, yes, it is a disadvantage because it supports only the web applications. Okay, it doesn't support other than non-web based application. It doesn't support. Okay, and this becomes a prerequisite because you need the technical expertise in any of the language. Say if you are choosing Java, okay, if you are writing your script in Java, you need to know Java, right? So that's very obvious. And no inbuilt report capability, right? So there are some of the very basic reporting features available, but then you cannot really get a very flashy or interactive reporting output test results reporting. You cannot get it in the Selenium, but then you can do it with the third party or integration with the JUnit or TestNG. Okay, you have to depend on these tools for getting the interactive reports. Okay, and there are a lot of challenges with IE browser, but then now I would say it's become now it's all fine, or it's all better than before. Before, say if you are identifying an element using XPath in IE browser, it was a difficult, but nowadays it's better. Okay, so this is again a difficulty in some of the application, and since it is an open source tool, you don't have a dedicated team to support or to respond back to respond your queries. Okay, so you will have to depend on the open forums. Okay, so this is a difficulty here, but in case of the licensed tool like UFT or RFT and all, you have a dedicated team or support team to support your queries or to cooperate, okay, to resolve your issues, right? So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so let's see next the difference between the WebDriver and Selenium RC. Okay, so maybe you would have heard about the RC also, maybe your friends, or you would have heard somebody is working in Selenium RC also, right? Say many people even now also, there are in some of the companies they are doing or they are automating with Selenium RC also, right? Maybe they would have started with Selenium RC, so just wanted to maintain the scripts in the Selenium RC itself, right? So what are the differences between WebDriver and RC? Okay, and see, there are some differences from the technical side of it. One is the architecture. If you look at here, this is very simpler and this looks very complex. Okay, because you need a intermediate server. Because of that, the communication between the server, application and the browser, and it becomes little difficult or complex. Okay, and it is faster because you don't need any intermediate person or intermediate server, so that becomes very faster, and it's slower because of the intermediate persons or the HTTP proxy server, right? And you have the direct interaction with the user. Here it acts as a communication mode to interact with the user, correct? You have a communication mode. It acts as a communication mode, that's all. You don't have a direct interaction, and their APIs are very simpler, and these APIs are little complex. Okay, and it supports the HTML unit browser. It doesn't support HTML unit browser. Okay, what do you mean by HTML unit browser is, sometimes what happens is if you want to execute the smoke test cases without even launching the application in the GUI, you want to just execute the test cases. Okay, just want to verify whether it launches the application, whether the title of the application is correct. These kind of verifications can be done with the HTML unit browser, because this is very faster when you compare with the other browser. But then disadvantage here is it doesn't have the UI. Okay, GUI doesn't have, right? But then for some of the specific reason, like you want to execute very, very faster, so in that case you can execute in HTML unit browser, right? So in that case, Selenium WebDriver, it supports HTML unit browser, but here RC doesn't support. Okay, this is how the architecture of WebDriver it is. Okay, say these are your commands, and it talks to the browser, right? Through the browser, you are talking to the web application directly. Okay, there is no intermediate person here. Okay, say look at the test scripts. It could be either C# or Java, Perl, Python, anything. Okay, your test scripts are through your WebDriver, it talks to the browser. Okay, these are your WebDriver scripts, and it talks to the browser directly. You don't have any intermediate person. Okay, and What are the types of Selenium WebDriver? Okay, Selenium WebDriver, when I talk, it has got different implementation for each of the browsers. Okay, so the type of browsers, based on which the drivers are, distinguished are HTML unit driver, IE driver, Firefox driver, Chrome, Safari. Okay, so why this is because when you are doing or when you are executing your scripts, okay, you have to first mention which driver you want to instantiate. Okay, so whichever the driver you are instantiating, based on that your executions will be carried out. Okay, so if you are choosing Firefox browser, all your test cases or all your executions will be in the Firefox browser. Okay, so based on the driver that you are choosing, you will be executing the test cases in the respective browser. Okay, so these are some of the the drivers which are available in the Selenium WebDriver. You will see quickly how this is implemented. Okay, all right. So I would like to show you a very quick demo also for you. How to just do a quick demo in Selenium WebDriver. Okay, so for that I would like to choose the Firefox driver. Okay, so coming back to right. So before even I go to the demo, I would like to tell you, right, what are the prerequisites to go ahead or to learn this is, maybe probably you'll have to have a knowledge on Java, but then Edureka supports, or it gives good training, good online video some of the video trainings training videos available for Java. Okay, so you can go through again and again, get the knowledge of Java, but then you will start off from the very basic of Selenium. Okay, say all the 4 flavors we will be seeing, and it's not that the hoops concepts or the Java concept we will not touch that. We will touch each and every concept whenever it is necessary. Say for example, when you are instantiating a WebDriver with a Firefox driver, there is a concept of interface. Okay, so how this has been carried out, and whenever you are writing a script, you will have to do with the exception handling. So what do you mean by exception handling? There are a lot more constructors to be instantiated, or they have to be called. So what is the concept of constructor and constructor, or these kind of OOPS concepts also will be clarified in the class whenever it is necessary. Okay, so maybe the prerequisite is to have the knowledge in Java. So once you enroll here, they will be providing the support for learning the Java also. So now to have the demo in WebDriver, I'm going to have a very quick demo in Selenium WebDriver. So for that, I'm going to launch the Eclipse. Okay, so because the Eclipse is the IDE that we will be working on our Java projects or our Selenium projects. Okay, so here you will have to create a new project. Okay, right, Java project. I'm going to say a name saying that right, webinar. Okay, so this webinar, this project, I'm going to create a class. Okay, so we just have a main class, main method also. Okay, so here what we are going to do is we are just going to write a script for invoking a browser, Firefox browser, and just to launch a URL. Okay, just launch an URL, right? So we are going to do only a small part of it using Selenium WebDriver. Now, before we write the scripts, what is the prerequisite or what is the configuration that we need is, first you have to get the jar files downloaded in your machine. Okay, so the jar files will be available in Selenium site. Right? So if you go to this site, okay, Selenium HQ download, you can see the jar files available, right? So your Selenium WebDriver jar files are available over here in this portion. So whichever the language binding that you would choose, you can just go for it, okay? Just click on download, you will be able to download in your machine, right? So once you download in your machine, okay, in a particular place, folder, okay, what you do is just configure those jar files into your project. Okay, so how to do that? Right click on your project, click on build path, okay, and configure build path. All right, so here it asks which are the libraries that you would like to configure or add it. Okay, so click on add external jars. Okay, so wherever your jar files are available, okay, just choose the jar files. Okay, you have to choose complete. Okay, so why you are adding these jar files? Because this, without these jar files configured, this is a simple Java program. This doesn't know what is Selenium. Okay, that doesn't know what is WebDriver. It doesn't know what is Firefox driver. Okay, so just to tell this Eclipse, or just to instruct the Eclipse or this Java program, you have to include or you have to configure these jar files in your project. Okay, now you are good to go to write a Selenium script. Okay, so here we are going to write a small program with the Selenium WebDriver concept. Okay, so there is a class called WebDriver, right? Just instantiate. Okay, WebDriver driver is equal to new. I'm going to assign with Firefox driver. Okay, because this has this particular class. Sorry, this is a interface. Okay, this implements lot of different classes. Okay, so one is Firefox driver, Firefox, or Chrome and IE. Lot more are there. Okay, so in this case, I would like to implement with the Firefox driver, or I would like to refer with the Firefox driver. Okay, so in this case, you just have WebDriver driver is equal to new Firefox driver. So here driver is an object. Okay, so this object you have created with the Firefox driver implementation. You can have a different implementation. Say if you want to go for Chrome driver, then you can just have the same kind of WebDriver driver is equal to new Chrome driver. Okay, so this is the beauty of the implementation, interface implementation, right? So you can have a different flavor also, right? So just look at this error message and have the packages imported. Okay. So now driver is an object which has the capabilities to use or to leverage all the methods of WebDriver. Okay. So here in driver there is a method to launch an URL. The method name is get. So if you place a dot, you can have the methods. Okay, there is a method get. I'm saying www. Okay, all right, maybe these two lines, just we will execute these two lines. Okay, just run these two lines. Okay, it launches Firefox and it launches google.com also. Okay, say I want to display the title. Okay, there's a method called get title of. Okay, so what it does, it gets the title of the application or the web application is launched, and it displays in the console. Okay, let's execute once again. Okay, if you want to do any operation in any of the control in google.com, then you'll have to find the elements also. Okay, so that takes little time. Okay, so look at over here in the console. See, Google is printed. Okay, it has got the title of this application and it's printed also. So it is that easy, guys. Okay, so you can just get started in the first day itself. Okay, when you are moving ahead with a course, right? So parallelly you can just have an application, or you just identify an application for which you would like to do the automation and then get started in the first day itself. Okay, maybe at the end of this course, maybe I can guarantee that you will become an expert in Selenium, and you can also choose your career accordingly. Okay. All right, guys. So this is a quick demo that I wanted to show you. Maybe further things, if you want to learn more, maybe in the actual class we can discuss all those things. Okay. So I would like to go for the questions now. Okay. I would like to see. Okay. So I'll take one by one some of the questions. So there was a question called okay, some of the questions which are already answered in the PPT itself. Say, what are the tools available, right? So that question is answered already. Okay, and there is one more question, smoke testing. Smoke testing also I have explained you, right? And the next question, sorry, are you going to share the PPTs after this meeting? Okay, maybe I can talk to Edureka, right, about this, whether how they are going to go about it. I'm not very sure, Santosh. So Santosh has asked that if we want to share this PPT, that I can check with them. Maybe you can ask them also, Santosh. Okay, and next question, sanity testing and regression testing. See, this regression testing is much more deeper than sanity. Okay, sanity is just to check the health. Okay, just to check whether things are working fine at a very high level. But then regression testing is not that, right? Regression testing is a very complete testing, or this has to, regression testing will confirm all the application functionalities are working fine, or existing functionalities will be working fine. That is what regression testing. Sanity is just to check whether the build is really good to go for our functional testing. Okay. All right. And what is LOS? LOS, loan origination submission. Okay. All right. Video streaming application. I'm not very sure, Om Prakash, but then image processing and all it supports. Video streaming, I'm not very sure. Okay, so I'll have to check with that, Om Prakash. Okay. All right. TestNG is better than JUnit. Yes, it is, of course. Okay. Mobile application testing also, it is. Yes, it is. It supports mobile apps also. We have got the framework for that also in Selenium. Selenium supports free, because ThoughtWorks, they came up with the initial framework itself for a free of cost. Okay, so they continue with that itself, but even now it is available for free. But if you want to contribute with the Selenium institution, yes, we can, but then it is free of cost. Okay, it's just they started with that, because their motto is not for money, but that their institution itself just to spread the knowledge. okay, just to leverage their technology expertism into the automation. And there was one more question: can we integrate Selenium Grid with Selenium WebDriver? Yes, Selenium Grid 1.0 and 2.0. There are two versions available, Leo, and 1.0 is for RC and 2.0 is for WebDriver. Okay, and right. See, QTP and Selenium, there are some of the differences, because QTP, first of all, when we talk about from the cost wise also, the Selenium is different, and the object identification mechanism is totally different in QTP and in Selenium, and the way we are developing the framework also is different, and the support here in Selenium is only web application, but QTP it supports both. I wouldn't say any other best tool in the market other than Selenium. Maybe Selenium is the best tool in the open source tool market, Himanshu. Okay, and RC, somebody has asked to explain. RC, see, Selenium RC, see, the RC, the full form itself is remote control, okay? So you have to talk to the browser using server. So you'll have to first start the server in the command prompt. You have to go to the folder, wherever the jar files are downloaded, and from there you just start the start the server, and then you can execute the scripts from the Eclipse. Okay, so that's how you'll have to communicate. But then here in WebDriver, you don't need that. Okay, and there are some more questions, guys. Maybe these questions will be answered in the actual class. Okay. Okay, and yeah, there are some more questions. Maybe here it's already time is up. Okay, see how to get jar files. Maybe a couple of questions also I would like to answer. How to get the jar files? Okay, see, jar files you can get it from the Selenium HQ site itself. Whatever the jar files that you want, you can get it for the RC, even Grid, and for WebDriver also in the same place. You can get all the jar files in the same Selenium HQ site itself. Okay. See, majorly the framework side, Sanu has asked a question, what are the frameworks? Okay, see, the very efficient framework that I would say, or we have in our the curriculum itself, is a page object framework. Okay, you have the page factory components. Okay, so with which you can develop the framework in the page object, right? And we also deal with the keyword driven and the data driven framework also. So that also we teach. But then I would say, or the companies mostly they prefer the page object framework. WebDriver latest version is 2.0, Sadhana, sorry. Okay. Framework development, somebody has asked, Rajani has asked, what is framework development? Say, you have got many more components in the automation, Rajani, because you have got your scripts, you have got your objects, right? Objects descriptions, you will have your test results, right? And you will have your scenarios, you will have your, other, references, you will have your configurations, right? All these things, how you are putting it together, right? So that is called as framework. But then there are many more technical things in framework development. See, there are many more reasons. One of the main reason is you want to reuse the components in your scripts, right? So in that case, if you are developing in a proper framework, then only you will be able to, reuse it. So for that purpose, you have, different kind of framework concept here: keyword driven, data driven, hybrid, and things like that. Say, for example, if it is a keyword driven, okay, or page object page object factory. Okay, so that way, if you are developing a framework, what you are doing is, what you're going to do is, you will be listing out, okay, in each of the web page, what are the components are there, what are the functionalities, or what are the methods that you are going to use. Okay, so in this case, you will be defining each page in this way, right? So here, when you are defining these methods, right, so you will be able to reuse so many of the couple of the methods, or from each of the page you will be able to reuse these methods for other pages also. Okay, or you can have a common repository how to identify each and every element, or how to do every action, okay, every method also. So you have a different kind of framework development methodologies, right? So with which, when you are developing it, you say today you are developing for Google, okay, so the same thing in Google itself, they would have enhanced the application. So the same script or the same automation package itself, if you want to reuse further for the next enhanced version, you should be in a position to reuse most of the components in the existing framework. That way you have to develop it. Okay, so for that you have this keyword driven, data driven, and these majorly these three types you have, and you can develop it. Okay, and somebody is saying ISTQB is very much better. See, ISTQB is just a certification, guys, because that is just to give just to market about yourself. Okay, you can just enhance your knowledge in your all your testing concepts. Okay, so you can take the ISTQB certification and register in the ISTQB forum, and you can include that logo in your resume so that you can market about yourself. Okay, and what a Selenium grid, see, if you want to execute say 1000 test cases you have, and you want to execute faster with multiple machines, okay, so in that case you can have a server and multiple nodes also. So this kind of hub and node distributed development or distributed execution is called as or it is implemented using Selenium grid. Okay, that is the latest one, right? Okay, all right. So there are a couple of more questions also. Say, sorry. See, for IE 11, somebody has got a question like IE 11 whether it is supporting or not. See, I'm not sure whether it is supporting for IE 11, but for usually for IE and Chrome, you'll have to check with if they've got any patches also they have released. Okay, say if there is a latest version in IE, you'll have to check with the driver also in Selenium. Okay, so if there is any latest browser enhancement, the same thing has to be supported in the Selenium WebDriver also. So in that case, you have to double check once again with the Selenium side also for the IE driver whether it is supporting the IE 11 or not. So in that case, I'm not sure. I'm not really pretty sure about whether it is supporting IE 11. So need to check it once. Otherwise, you can once download the latest IE driver and then check out. If it is not supporting, maybe wait for the latest IE driver. Okay, IE driver release from the Selenium HQ. Once they release, then only you'll be able to. Okay, but then IE 11 I have never executed, so I'm not very sure. Sorry. Okay, so which flavor is suitable for beginners? Okay, so I would say it is better to go with Selenium WebDriver itself, but then you will learn the other flavors also. Okay, you have to have the knowledge about the other flavors, but you will be learning the complete framework development with WebDriver only. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. There are some more questions about ISTQB. So ISTQB certification is something very independent than this. Okay, maybe about this, if you want more details, maybe you can get in touch with Edureka. Maybe I'll be able to support you. Okay. All right. So, but then, for ISTQB, there is no definite book for that. There is one book called Foundation of the Software Testing. Okay, so that book has got, or it covers the all the syllabus of ISTQB for foundation certification. Okay, so that book you can just go through and prepare for ISTQB. Prepare, right? Okay, thank you guys. All right. Okay. So it's very interesting. You guys were very interactive. Thank you so much. All right.